Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli back with another review video, and of course, continuing on, with the Star Trek marathon. And yeah, you know what is next? Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. Okay, so where do I even start with The Final Frontier? And boy, if Little Blue were here doing this with me, there would be a lot of things he would say about this for sure. Well, because Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, this was the first Star Trek film directed by William Shatner, because, after the success of Star Trek IV, Shatner was to helm the next Star Trek film, after his friend Leonard Nimoy had directed the last two. So yeah, and, it's a sad story for the fifth film and for its production, and kind of messy, kind of a messy film, I should say. And it was one of those films, in the franchise, that was rushed, basically. Yep, so, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, for me, I don't think it's that bad. It is kind of fun to watch, because I think I have a point. I think the story is okay, and there are some good things about it, which, of course, we will talk about when we get to those. The opening to it, because, you've got this Vulcan rider named Sybok, who apparently has the power to take people's pains away. And with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, they're on shore leave on Earth, and, Kirk climbing the mountains, and Spock with those rocket boots, and, that scene where Kirk falls, and, from the cliff, when he slips and he falls, that was a stuntman. That was real, and that was a cool shot right there, with a stuntman falling that high. And here's another thing. This was the return of Jerry Goldsmith, composing the music. And you know what? His music is fantastic too. My dad would say this, that the opening music, the main title music for this, is his favorite, with Jerry Goldsmith's Star Trek theme, which is my all-time favorite Star Trek theme, and I think is the pure theme to Star Trek. So a little bit of it is played when the name of the cast is shown in space, and then we cut to the mountains and Kirk climbing, and this beautiful music that's playing. That's really good. And also, we also get on Nimbus 3, we get the representatives, Caitlin Darr, a Romulan, also David Warner as John, whatever the heck his last name is, and what was the Klingon? What was the Klingon's name? Cord, I want to say. I don't know. But anyways, so and Sybok having them hostage, and and is planning to, reach out, to lure a starship into Nimbus 3. And so, here's another thing. The visual effects in this, they're okay at times. Sometimes, especially the first shots we get of, say, ships in space, blah, 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 and with space talk, they are, they're, the archive footage and, the same footage we saw in the in Star Trek IV that's repeated, And of course, when we come to the rest of, the shots of space and with the starships, ILM was not available to help with, the visual effects for this, and, because at that time, they were busy with The Last Crusade and Ghostbusters 2. So, but again, the visual effects in this are at times okay, and the Klingons, because a Klingon bird of prey and Klingons that are in this, and the captain, Captain Claw, I want to say, that's the name, and Vix, the female Klingon crew member, played by Spice Williams, and those two, I'm telling you, the Klingon captain and the female Klingon, body build Klingons, and the actors in real life. So yeah, and the whole sequence with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy on shore leave, and the campfire, and the whole row your boat thing. Yeah, know about that. And when they are when they're called back to the Enterprise, and they're put to a mission, of going to Nimbus 3. And that's another thing is the Starfleet. It's not showing the full name, but played by Harve Bennett, because Harve Bennett being heavily a part of the Star Trek films, being one of the writers. And I think he too is another one of those that was not really familiar with Star Trek, but so as they're on their way to Nimbus 3, and the Enterprise is having some problems, like some repair problems, etc. And also they receive a transmission from Nimbus 3, of, the representatives pretending that they're being held hostage, and Savick, not Savick, Cybok saying that, I have no desire to harm these innocents, but do not put me to the task. I warn you, or whatever he says. And we see, like, the camera, like, pans in Spock's face, and, like, he pulls it up on his screen, on his position, and, Kirk asks Spock, it looks like it's like you've seen a ghost or something, and Spock says, I may have, Captain. I might have, or whatever he says. And they take a shuttle down to Nimbus 3, and they can't transport because the transporter is malfunctioning. That one shot with the shuttlecraft flying and passing by the camera, like, when you see the back of it, yeah, you can really see it's 2D. But when you're seeing it, like, say, some shots of it doesn't look like it's 2D. But, hard to explain, but that's the best I can put it. But, and that whole feather dance scene with Uhura. Yeah, I can't forget about mentioning that. Even, like, say, I think at one point there was, like, a relationship opening with, like, say, Scotty and Uhura. Like, when did that happen? I don't know, and never happened again when, like, say, Star Trek 6 happened. So, I don't know. And, this was all part of Cybok's plan, and to, capture the starship, and, he, like, brainwashes some of the crew, by taking their pain away. The bird of prey coming in and almost destroying the shuttlecraft that they're in. Kirk, McCoy, and Bones refusing to join Cybok. They're put into the brig, and we find out Cybok is Spock's half-brother. Now, it makes sense because, well, and as Spock clearly explains, they have the same father, but different mothers. Cybok's mother, according to Spock, was a Vulcan princess. And, of course, we all know of Spock's mother, it was the human female. So, anyways, and, them breaking free, like, Scotty helps them, and, like, giving them a signal, like, with the letters, and, stand back, and, what are you standing around for? You're not going jailbreak when you see one. And, like, some shots where, like, they're walking over, like, pipes, and when Scotty hits his head, how did he not notice that? And how did they not hear him bonk his head? I don't know. And when they're climbing up the shaft, and, like, Spock using the rocket boots, and, there are times where, because when they fire up the rocket boots and they're going up fast, like, if you quickly notice this, like, the numbers, like, deck 78, and then it would be deck 78 again, but because the Enterprise having some problems, and, it still needs to be fixed up, they just got the number of the decks wrong, pretty much. And that whole sequence with Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Cybok, and we see that Cybok trying to take away Bones and Spock's pain away, and we see this plain as day, like, we see, like, visions of, like, say, McCoy's father dying, and the birth of Spock. Quite emotional stuff for sure, especially with McCoy's father dying, and, like, McCoy letting his father go because of the pain that his father's in, and letting him die peacefully, and the dialogue that Kirk gives about pain, they're the things that carry with us, that make us who we are. If we lose them, we'll lose ourselves. I don't want my pain taken away, I need my pain. That is a pretty good sequence. Again, there are Star Trek, even though, like, Star Trek 5 has had problems, and a bit messy, and, a few bad things about it, there were still some good things about it. Again, that sequence, for example. And another thing I almost forgot to mention, Cybok is looking for, Shakari, the Great Barrier, and he's looking for God, basically. He thinks he's looking for God, but when it comes to Shakari, and fun fact, the planet Shakari is named after Sean Connery, and because originally Shatner and Paramount heavily considered Sean Connery playing the part of Cybok, but they were unable to, and instead they got Lawrence Luckenbill to play Cybok. You know what? he's a better I think he was a better choice for Sybok. And fun fact, like Lawrence Luckinbill is the son-in-law of Lucille Ball. Yep, of I Love Lucy, and she's the one that kind of helped bring Star Trek to life, the original series, and I guess with the company that she was a part of. Anyways, so when Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and, they do join Sybok, and Sybok wasn't really a bad guy in this. He never was. He just wanted to get to Shakari, all that kind of stuff. And they, Kirk and the others, they just didn't see it yet of what he was doing. And they finally did. And they all go to Shakari on a shuttle, and they come face to face with God, who they think is God at first, played by George Murdoch, who would go on to appear once again in Star Trek as Admiral Hansen in The Best of Both Worlds, the two-parter, the first cliffhanger of Star Trek from season 3 to 4, and so, it turns out that this is no god at all. It's an imposter, and, the dialogue, from this god imposter, eternity I've been imprisoned in this place, and Sybok says, reveal yourself to me, and apparently it's him, Sybok, and it's him, but it's not him, and they do not explain this. And Sybok sacrifices himself, like he fights off the whatever, basically. And Kirk orders the Enterprise to fire torpedoes at the God Imposter. It kills Sybok, but it doesn't kill the God Imposter. And the transporter is fixed, but it can only beam up 2 people. So Kirk, orders for them to beam up Spock and McCoy, and McCoy, as they're being transported, you hear McCoy saying, now wait, just and Kirk running away from the God Imposter, and at one point originally Kirk was to face off against say 10 rock monsters, then limit down to 5, and then just to 1, because they don't have the budget to have 10 rock monsters nor 5, so it's just cut down to 1. It almost looked like the rock monster was pretty cool with the costume and such, but really it turned out to be that it was a bad costume, like this rubber-like rock monster, and with, glowing eyes, and apparently it was supposed to shoot fire or something from its mouth. I don't know. But I think, because with Star Trek V and with Kirk on that planet, I think it worked out okay without the rock monster, just saying. And the Klingon bird of prey who's just trying to capture Kirk, the Klingon representative, he's too much of a scaredy cat to order his people to stand down, and Spock is saying to him, damn you, sir, you will try. And, the Klingon commander, Spock tells the Klingon commander that someone wishes to speak with him. The Klingon ship arrives at Kirk's location, killing the God Imposter. They beam up Kirk, and, everything seemed to work out, and the Klingon commander apologized to Kirk, and, because Spock pretty much helped out on this, with Spock and the Klingon representative. And the epilogue, where everybody is in that one room with, that Kirk, Spock, and McCoy were in at times, and especially that sequence with Sybok trying to take Bones and Spock's pain away, where it had a steering wheel to it and a plaque that said to boldly go where no man has gone before, there's this ceremony happening or whatever. And, McCoy asks Kirk, is God really out there? Maybe he's not out there, Bones. Maybe he's right here. Human heart. And that and the ending to it, where they're on shore leave again and, singing row, row, row your boat again. Yeah, that was an okay ending, so... Oh, man, but, and another thing is, originally, at one point, Spock and McCoy were going to join Sybok's side, but Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley were against this, and so was Gene Roddenberry, because Spock and McCoy, they would never betray their friend Kirk. Because it's true, why would they? This is Spock and McCoy we're talking about. But anyways, in conclusion, and in closing... Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, yes, because it's a messy film and with its messy production, etc., but it's an okay Star Trek film. Not the best, of course, but it's okay, and it's fun to watch, as I said. And I'm sure, my dad would agree with me on this, too. And oh boy, how do I rate this? I think this is good, 6 out of 10 stars for The Final Frontier. I think, 6 out of 10 stars is still good. To me, I think it's still good. So again, 6 out of 10 stars for The Final Frontier. You guys let me know what you think of The Final Frontier, what you thought of my review. Leave comments and give this review a like as always, and yeah. And of course, the Star Trek Marathon is still continuing. And we know what's next because after what happened with the 5th film, things would get back in shape and things would get better for the 6th and final Star Trek film with Kirk and the crew. So stay tuned for that. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. More reviews coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And I'll see you guys in the next video/review. Take care, peace out, and live long and prosper.